Welcome to Discourse. That's Retha.
That's Tony.
And today we're talking about The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. The Viscount Who Loved Me. Just the title alone, I'm like, oh God, this is going to be terrible.
Well, the first one was what? The Duke and I?
The Duke and I, yeah. So The Viscount Who Loved Me is about a dude that's a Viscount in like Regency era England who falls in love against his will to this other like average-ish girl that he doesn't really want to love, but he falls in love with anyway, which they give it away like in chapter 1, right? Like in chapter 1, he's like, I don't want to fall in love with anybody. I want to marry somebody that I don't love, but is beautiful and smart. She needs to be beautiful and smart, but I cannot love her. And then the next scene is the girl's name's Kate, Sheffield or something like that. And the next scene is like she's unconventionally beautiful and she's super smart, so nobody can love her. I'm like, okay, so we obviously know where this is going.
Yeah.
And then we proceed to then just build that romantic relationship without any depth to it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I felt like there was 100 pages of unnecessary information, and then what was there was necessary, but I felt like should have had so much more like substantial feeling. It was, I don't know, just not.
It was too predictable.
Yeah,
like I knew exactly where it was going every time. Okay. I hated this story, okay? But I did appreciate the writing, and I admit that in moments I was interested to see where their relationship was going. But you could remove 90% of this novel and I would still get that same feeling, right? Yeah. Like there's moments where they're like bickering back and forth and then like will they, won't they, semi-interesting.
Yeah, it was fun. It kind of was like, oh, that's just so cute, the way that they go back and forth and how much they are alike. And I don't know, it worked for me, but like you said, there was just too much else that didn't need to be there.
And yeah, there's just so much that doesn't need to be there. For example, they play this lawn game.
Oh God,
what
Pall
is that?
Mall.
Pall Mall. They play Pall Mall, and I've read reviews, and people are raving about this Pall Mall scene. I read it. I was like, this is terrible. Imagine you watching somebody playing croquet. Like, that's as exciting as it gets.
No, I thought it was kind of cute because they kind of made up their own rules, and I love that it showed how much the family, like how much they loved each other for one, but also how competitive they can get and how evil they can be with each other, and it'd be totally chill because that's how they play Pall Mall, even though they don't really know the rules, they said.
Yeah.
So they kind of made it up as they go, and it was cute, that whole scene where she like sinks his ball into the lake, and Daphne was like, yes, you are the best, this is so awesome, you win for life, basically. It was cute. It was cute because they're always trying to fight each other and win, right? So it's cute.
It was mildly cute. I would say that if it was all wrapped up in one chapter, I would have been like, oh, that's a cute scene of a family playing a game. Yeah. But we get like 6 chapters about this single Pall Mall game. I'm sorry. There's 2 Pall Mall games.
Yeah, there's 2 Pall Mall.
But there's just multiple chapters dedicated to this one lawn game. It's not that fascinating. Like, yes, you're right. Again, if it was condensed into one chapter, and this chapter is about Pall Mall and how the family is coming together about this game they really like, I would have been like, great, let's move on.
I know.
But now I had to sit through 6 chapters of how they like to play Pall Mall, and then there was like 3 paragraphs where they were just looking at each other. And then he was like, oh my God, she looked at me. What does that mean? What? Am I looking at her? What is this feeling in my chest? Oh, it's just heartburn. I ate pizza. It's fine.
Stupid. Oh my God.
And then there was just a lot of conversation about dress and marriage. And I get it. It's Bridgerton. This is what they're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But this is also why I hate it. There was like 90% about the color of somebody's dress and who's showing up where.
But even for the time period, right? Those things are what mattered to people. How you looked, how you presented yourself, and your entire status. That was it. So for her and her family, they were on the poor end of the higher society.
Yeah. She was poor but rich. She was still rich, don't get me wrong. But she was kind of poor.
Yeah, but she had like no dowry or anything, right? Yeah. To even offer for when she got married, which didn't matter for Anthony because he has tons of money and his whole family will be set for life. But, I mean, for her, you know, what she wore and presented as herself to the society was super important, and for all of them. So, looking good in a color, yes, it mattered. Because you don't want to look, what did it say, a singed flower, singed yellow daffodil or something.
Who is that lady Whistledown? She is tearing people to pieces.
I love her.
She
great.
writes the beginning of every chapter, there's like a news article from her where she is just cutting people to shreds. Yeah. It is like People magazine.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And I think that's mainly the reason why, like one of the main reasons why people like this series is because of this character, how anonymous she is. Yeah. And I know in the TV series in the first season, you see who she is. But at least in the books, you're totally oblivious as to who it is.
Yeah, they don't even make even a hint of it. She's just writing the beginning of every chapter.
And I like that. Like there's some some articles that she has where she says she wasn't in attendance, but because you know who that person is because of the TV series, you're like, she was there, but she's like pretending.
Misdirection.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, kind of cool.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying, like, two women that might have been important, making sure that your family's taken care of by marrying into money and looking good in society.
Yeah, super important.
But
annoying.
Remember, this time in this Regency era in England was at the height of colonialism, right? So, I know, we're getting into history, I'm sorry. But for me, I'm not a history expert, but I do like reading about history. I'm reading this and I'm seeing all of their wealth. There's like a quote in there where like Kate walks into the Viscount's mansion or something and she's talking about the magnificent wealth that she sees. And I couldn't help but think like, where did all this wealth come from? I'm pretty sure they pillaged and looted a lot of third world countries. I'm pretty sure they are getting rich off of the back of all the peasants in England, paying them almost nothing, which the story makes no mention of the servants that are serving them. They seem like non-entities, essentially, right? The maid answered the door.
The butler.
The butler told me a message. And then that's it. Like, I'm not saying we need to dive deep into it, but let's remember where all of this wealth is coming from. And this story seems rather shallow because it doesn't explore these topics. It's just about marriage, and it's just about clothing, and it's just about money. There's nothing else even permeating the story, even minor ways. Like this is all that it is.
Yeah, I agree. And then for the reader, all it is just like a really simple kind of dramatic love romance thing going on.
It is a melodramatic love story.
Yeah, I kind of didn't like the stupid bee stuff going on.
The bee stuff?
Yeah, like when she got stung by the bee,
and
it's all this dramatic stuff, and how his dad died from the bee. I was like, I don't know, I kind of didn't really like that about it. And then how she almost died in the carriage, and when it toppled on top of her. And
yeah, it seemed like he was pulling her out of the Titanic wreckage.
I know. I was like,
there's a scene. Spoiler alert. There's a scene at the end where Kate is in a carriage wreckage. It flips over, right? And in my mind, I'm like, a carriage is just a box. Right?
And it's actually an open.
And it's an open box. Carriage. You flip over, like you just crawl out of one of the holes.
I think maybe it was on its side. Maybe she.
Yeah, and there was only one hole above, which is fine. It's all totally fine. But the way Julia Quinn wrote this scene was like Anthony had dived into the ocean and was pulling Kate out of the Titanic as it was sinking.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, are things on fire? What is happening right now?
I actually loved the ending of that chapter, and then the beginning when he was trying to get her out. The ending was like, I watched her, fly out of the carriage or whatever, and it was her death or something. And I was like, oh my God, she just died. I was like, holy shit, she just died.
He ends that chapter with, and it's her death. I was like, dang,
I know, I was like,
that was a twist.
Yeah. I feel like that was probably the only moment in the whole book where I was shocked, I guess, or surprised. Yeah. But then you read and you're like, oh, he was just being super dramatic, Anthony.
Yeah, he's just and that's Anthony through the whole thing, is he's super dramatic, which is surprising because I would have swore Kate would have been dramatic. Yeah. And she seems the less dramatic of the two.
Yeah. Even though she went through some not that his father dying was traumatic for him, but I felt like what she went through when you read how her mother died, oh my God. I was like, that's super traumatic. Whether you were 3 or 30, that was horrible. So I felt like she deserved to be more kind of dramatic in life itself,
Yeah. And I think they both had equal reasons to have tragedy and some kind of emotions from it. But he seemed to be taking it very badly, where she seemed to be
Super
taking
intense.
it better. Like, she was sad, but
Right.
it wasn't like affecting her emotions
Right.
or the relationship she was going to form with people.
Right.
And the book made Anthony seem like this lovable rogue, which to me, he seemed more like a sex offender that has not been caught yet.
Right.
Like, did
And
you?
is trying to change his ways.
And is trying to change
in the
his ways.
meantime.
Like, did you read that scene where he first falls in love, or when he first kisses Kate? Again, spoiler alert, beginning of the novel, he ends up kissing Kate. But that scene where, like, he's kissing her, like, she sneaks into his office.
Oh, I know.
And then
that
he
was
catches
good.
her, and he's super pissed.
Yeah.
So he wants to scare her by physically intimidating her.
Right.
I'm like, what?
I know. I was like, in what?
She's a tiny woman. Why are you going to physically intimidate her?
I know. I was like, in what world is that okay? That's not okay.
And then, to teach her a lesson, he grabs her, right? Her
Yeah.
arms are like flaccid to her side. And then he starts kissing her.
I know. I thought it was odd.
And then she's like so shocked that she opens her mouth, so he shoves his tongue in her mouth. What?
I know.
I'm pretty sure that's sexual assault. And then so he continues to like hold her down and like caress her butt. But she wasn't resisting, not because she didn't like it, only because she was shocked. So I was just like, this is bordering on sexual battery. How is this romantic?
I know.
But maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was giving a guy's
No.
perspective. Let me know what you think.
No, I actually totally agree. I kind of thought that was a little much, especially in that time, right? I mean, just seeing someone's wrist or their ankle was like, oh my gosh, shocking in itself. Now you're going to be alone in a room with a woman, a single woman, you're single, and then you're going to be kissing her and forcing yourself upon her, whether she wanted to or not. It's inappropriate, especially for the time.
And then the only thing she actually does say in that scene is she finally catches her breath and she's like, please let me go.
I know.
Right?
I know. She's like, oh
and
my
I'm like,
God.
oh my God.
Yeah.
And then like a couple of paragraphs later, she talks about how she is like red and bruised
from him.
and she's crying. She is physically crying.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this guy is romantic? Like he's the dreamboat here?
I know, I agree. I tried to just kind of push that out of my mind for the rest of the story because I was like, oh, that was rough. It wasn't good.
So let me read
It wasn't good.
let me read a quote just so that people don't think we're like, over exaggerating.
Man, people are going to hate this video. They're going to be like, excuse me, you're
I know.
talking crap about Bridgerton?
I came here to fangirl about
I know.
Bridgerton, and I say fangirl just because the author's note at the very end admits
Yeah.
openly that her fan base is all women.
But no, I love Bridgerton 1,000%. I just don't think I like the books as much as the series, which is not usually the case. Usually the books are always better. But I feel like in the first season, the diversity of all the characters and the, racial diversity, like all of that, I think was much needed change from the book. And so everybody's not just white.
So I don't think, the books, everybody's just white.
Everybody's
right?
just white.
Everybody's just ivory.
Yeah. So
And I did watch one episode against my will with Priscilla.
against his will. Oh my God.
And I did that they were diverse.
Yeah,
That was
I
like
love
so
that.
amazing to me. But they had just pushed aside all mentions of history, and I was like, I'm not into this.
I know, but it's for the romance part. That's
Yeah.
what it's for.
So let's see. Okay, so in chapter 7, so most of the assault comes in chapter 7. Page 114, he says, intimidation had been his intention, so he'd move closer and closer until she, an innocent, could only be cowed by his presence. Telltale
An
signs of
innocent.
sexual assault.
I know, an innocent.
And then continue on page 115. All she would know was that he was looming over her, that he was stronger, more powerful, and that she had made a dreadful mistake by invading his private sanctuary. So this dude's plan was to physically intimidate a woman and put her in her place?
Yeah, but with the time, I guess that makes a lot of sense. I think it's super inappropriate, and I don't agree with it, but I think at the time, he probably was
acceptable.
in the right, and she probably thinking like, oh no, well, it's my fault because I invaded his space, was probably really appropriate to the time. Nowadays, it's like, excuse me, I just came into your office. You need to chill.
Okay, she comes into his office, but remember, she was invited to his house.
That's true, but you're
The
not
door
supposed
was
to
not
roam
locked.
around.
I agree. It's not right, but it's also not like she broke
I
a
know.
window, snuck in
Yeah,
to a
I
locked
know.
house.
And she had a good point. She was like, listen, I was trying to avoid you. I've never been to your house before. I did not know this was your personal office.
Yeah.
I was just trying to hide from you to avoid you.
So
like,
Anthony has anger problems.
well, he's got some issues. Also, with the time, men kind of felt like they had the rights over women.
Yeah.
All the time for every reason. Their property, right? And he even kind of references that later. Like when they got married, remember? He was like, you cannot deny me tonight because like I own you.
You're my property.
Yeah, you're right. I can do whatever I want with you, to you, whenever, because I can. So
you're right.
That doesn't really surprise me.
I think in that Regency era, women were starting to become more independent. Me and Abel reviewed The Last Duel, and this idea that you were talking about, how women being property, was much more prevalent. Like women were property, nobody second guessed it, right? Where in the Regency era, it started to become more.
Because that was what, 100 years before, a couple 100 years before.
I'm not that kind of history buff. I don't remember times.
Okay, me either. Okay, this is like a podcast that I listen to. She says this is London times. Whenever it takes place in England or something, this is London times. Don't know what time it is, but it's London times.
I can never give you a specific date. I can give you a general time frame, usually consisting between 100 and 300 years.
Yeah, London times.
But I guess you're right. Women are still seen as property.
What do you think about all the kids being named in alphabetical order? This is like a huge thing for everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not a big thing for me. I was like, okay, they're
everybody talks about it, that they're born in alphabetical order.
So what do you think about that?
I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I felt like, were they really, like, say his father didn't die, were they really planning to get all the way to Z? Because
with 26
that's a lot
children?
of kids. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and then people back then did have a lot of kids.
A lot of kids.
But they talk about like these women being like very fashionable and things like that. But after 27 kids, like how fashionable can you be?
Or how much would you want to be? It's a lot.
I feel like my wife, after the first kid, she was like, comfort is 100% of my concern.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not worried about being fashionable with anybody. You don't like it? Stop looking at me.
Yeah. I thought it was cute that his parents loved each other a lot and we're just like, let's just keep having these kids because, you know, it's how we show our love.
What else are we going to do? Play Pall Mall?
It wasn't so bad, the Pall Mall scene. I kind of liked it. I like that they have like that real competitiveness between each other and that they're always trying to outdo the other one.
I was reading reviews on Amazon and I think the majority of people that gave it like 4 and 5 stars agree with you.
Yeah.
Like almost every other review had mentioned that Pall Mall scene. And I was like, did I miss something? What is going on with this Pall Mall scene? It was just people playing like croquet, essentially.
No, because like if you were a girl and if you were in that moment, even though they weren't really courting, he was supposed to be courting her younger sister. They really were throughout the entire book, unknowingly courting each other.
Yeah, and I felt like Anthony's mom kind of knew.
Yeah.
Because she always seemed to maneuver him in a situation where he was walking with Kate rather than Edwina.
Yeah.
Like they would walk the dog together and her mom just his mom offhandedly was like, oh, just go walk the dog with Kate. You'll run into Edwina, I'm sure.
That was her mom. Oh, when they went to the...
Mary. Her mom, Mary.
Yeah, her mom, Mary.
Yeah.
But then Violet, she did too. She was kind of like, oh, maybe you should go for a walk in the gardens.
Yeah.
You know, because that's where What's Her Brace was. But I think mothers know things, so I think she just kind of knew.
Yeah, they would hit it off.
Yeah, and then also like, which brother was it? Colin was like, I like you, like right away to her, and he was like, you know, you remind me a lot of my brother.
The brothers don't come in often, but when they do have an impact on Anthony's mood and like decision making. Right. Even towards the end of the book, when he's struggling with trying to tell Kate that he loves her, one of his brothers or two of his brothers come in, and they're just like, just go tell her you love her, right? And then he has like an epiphany, like, oh crap, I should tell her I love her. Like that's what it took.
But I kind of like though that the closeness of them, that without him even saying something, them just looking at him, being like, we know what's happening with you right now, and we just need to kick you in the butt so you can go and fix it because
go do it.
You know,
and they knew he wasn't gonna be back for a week, so they're like, "Don't worry about it. We'll see you in 3 weeks."
Yeah.
So I did like that brotherly love situation.
That was
where
great.
They kind of knew each other and they were kicking each other in the butt to get things done. So, like I said, it wasn't bad. Like if it was condensed, it was like 400 pages.
I know.
If it was condensed like into 200 pages, I feel like this would have been a really powerful, emotional romance story that just quickly got over with. Like
I know. But I don't know, for girls, like what I was saying earlier, like when you're in those moments of getting to know someone, especially someone that you like, whether you want to admit it to yourself or not, I don't know, those moments seem to kind of like, you want them to last a little while, and everything does matter, and you remember like everything that was said, everything that was done. And
Yeah.
so it kind of made sense that those moments lasted a while.
When you and Abel were dating, I think you had a lot more memories and emotions than he did, right? Because like, if you tell him, he'd be like, I don't even remember that.
I know, he's like, okay, I don't know.
You remember that time we stayed under the stars and ate dinner and talked about our future? He was like, no, I don't remember that.
I know. It's like, what? Oh, it's funny.
So I feel like if you subscribe to marriage magazines, then this book is for you.
Yeah, probably.
Like if marriage is your life and that's all you're ever thinking about, this story you will love. And people love this story. Again, the writing's not bad. Feel free to read it.
But it's not that great
not
either. Yeah, it's not that great though either. After reading the series that I'm reading right now, the Dark London series by Kristen Callahan, man, that's some good writing.
Dark London, is
and
that
it's romance.
that Firelight book you told me to read? Mm-hmm. So we're going to review that. That's going to come next. That's the next book I'm reading.
God,
I did read the first chapter of that. A little melodramatic, but it's good. There's content in there that makes it so intriguing, rather than her talking about how she's dressing and what he's thinking and what she's thinking about what he's thinking.
Right. There's a tiny little bit of it, but because it matters. Yeah. Like the only information she gives you is because it will matter at some point. I love it.
And that's what I felt like Bridgerton was. Like the information I was getting didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like I either already knew it or it was obvious.
Right.
And we're just waiting for the characters to figure it out.
Yeah. God, which took so long. It was almost kind of frustrating and not in a good way. Like, okay, people, you love each other. Just get over it. Like, it's ridiculous after 300 pages.
Yeah. I'll say it again. It was good, but it needs to be like 200 pages.
Yeah. I say I just want to watch the TV series because of all the changes they made and because it's just so much better. Don't want to read the books.
No, Priscilla made me watch the first episode of this show, and I was like, okay, Regency era, history, let's get it done. I watched it. I was like, you have cheated me. There was none of that.
No, but
and
it's
then
good.
Retha tried to get me to read Bridgerton book 2, and she was like, you'll like it. It's a good story. I read it. It was terrible. So, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you again. Stop having me read this.
But the the Dark London series.
We're talking about Bridgerton.
I know,
you can't just switch over to a different book.
I will regain my name in this, I swear.
Okay. But as of now, I will not read book 3. I hope this video doesn't do that good, so we don't have to read book 3. Could you imagine if this video blows up and I'm like, oh God, I gotta read book 3 now.
Like watch it, but maybe don't like it. Just because
just give it a thumbs down.
Yeah, because just give it a thumbs down just so we know people are watching, but so we don't have to read book 3 because I really don't want to read it. I just want to watch the series. Just please.
Yep. Let us know in the comments if we're completely wrong. Let us know if you agree with us. We'll be down there as well. Thanks for watching. Oh,
and let us know if you want us to review Firelight, right?
Oh yeah, Firelight.
Or if you've read it.
We're going to review it anyway, so I don't care if you want us to read it or not.
Okay.